So I forgot to record during class again. That's what happens. So basically, I'll try to sum up everything. There we go. It was blurry for a second. Okay, so what we talked about today was we reviewed some of the things we talked about for the Great Depression that were going on. People had to deal with 25% of people who had jobs were unemployed, so they lost their jobs. Banks were closing, so people lost their money. People were going hungry because they couldn't afford food. Farms were being lost because of the Dust Bowl and because of the lack of people buying, so they were losing money. It's like there's so many different things that were happening. Not only were people losing their homes, but they were also losing their children. Like we saw that picture the week before or last week about the mother who was hiding her face in shame because she had to put her kids for sale because she could not afford to feed her children to keep them alive. So she's trying to sell them or even just give them to someone who will take care of her kids for her. So things were pretty bad, right? During our own recession that we're in right now, the economy is not so good. A lot of people have lost their jobs because of COVID and everything happening when businesses were closing down. So a lot of people have had similar instances, not as bad as the Great Depression, but some similar instances as things we talked about. And one thing that we're doing to help people, the government is doing to help people today, is stimulus checks. So basically what that does is by giving people money, either they lost some money from lack of jobs or a reduction of hours and they need the money, or they don't need the money, but that money could be used to stimulate the economy. So stimulus check, what that means is if you view the economy like a wheel, like the wheel is turning. As long as things are good, people have jobs, people are spending money, the economy keeps going. And when people lose jobs and they start losing money, it stops. It can't go. It will never really stop, but it goes super slow. So when you get the economy going again, because it's going really slow, so by people having the money that they need to survive and pay for things, and by giving money to people, even just as, here's some bonus money to help you spend it. Because I've heard people complain, oh, well, they don't even need the stimulus check. They're just going to waste their money and they don't even need it. Well, that money is still useful because you put more money into the system and it stimulates the economy and gets it moving again. So that wheel is turning again. So, that's one of the things that our government is doing today to help people out of this economic recession that we're in. So the things that the government did in the 30s was pretty similar. They had a bunch of different programs to basically help people get back up on their feet, keep their houses, keep their jobs, give them jobs. So the New Deal was a set of programs. So I'm going to show you some of these programs here. Okay, so here's some of the programs, not all of them. This is an assignment I usually have for my U.S. history classes, but we just don't have time for that. So we're just going to kind of briefly talk about them. Our assignment that we're going to start today is including a few of these. So, you'll see these again. So essentially, these are programs that are meant to help people. So let me give you some examples of some of them. So this one, the Agricultural Adjustment Act, this basically, if you have a plot of land, here's my acreage and I have a farm, the government will say, okay, well, we talked last week about how some people have crops are just left in the field, not even harvested, and just die out in the field because they can't pay anybody to pick them and nobody's buying them. So just leave them there. That's what happens before people lose their farms. So the government is going to say, okay, so if you take a fourth of your land and just don't produce on it, we'll give you the money that you would have made on the produce in that land and only harvest this part of it. So that way it's like you're still receiving the same income that you usually do, but you're not losing money because of all these wasted crops that you're just spending money on, but not getting it back. So you're not losing your money and then you're not going to lose your farm. So that's essentially what that one did. The FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, this one is actually still around today. If you've heard of any Banks or credit unions, when they have their commercial, they'll say member FDIC. What that essentially means is it's a member of this corporation. So if, just like in the Great Depression, when a bank run happened, people were standing out in front of the bank trying to get into the bank to get their money before the bank closed up. We saw a picture of that last week. So they want to get their money, because if they don't, the bank's going to close and they lose their money. They won't get that money back again. So they created this program to basically ensure that people will not lose their money if the bank were to close or if something were to happen in the bank. So let's say I put my money in a bank or a credit union and someone robbed it. Is my money gone, or is it still there? So basically what this means is if something happens to the bank where it's robbed or it has to close, my money that I have in that bank, I'm still guaranteed to have it. So when it comes time for you to choose a bank or credit union that you want to have an account through, make sure, most of them are, but make sure it's a member of the FDIC, or else if it closes or they're robbed, you're not guaranteed your money back to be given back to you. There's another one that's still around today. You might recognize it, Social Security. A lot of people are mistaken in thinking that it's like a way for identification. It's not. I mean, it can be used as identification, but that's not the purpose of it. So the purpose of Social Security is, let's say that, okay, so let's say that there's a bank. There we go. Let's see, here's the bank, and here, this is the Social Security bank. It's hard to draw with the mouse, but you know, do what you can do. So this Social Security bank. So when I work and I have a job, I'm going to have a paycheck. Okay. This is my paycheck. And part of that paycheck is a Social Security tax that basically gets put into this Social Security bank. It's not really a Social Security bank, but we'll just pretend it like it is. So it goes into this bank. So now my money is in here along with everybody else who, has a job and pays taxes. There's someone, they're happy because, whoa, weird smile. They have a job and they're happy. So that's where everybody's money goes. And when someone gets old and they don't work anymore, they're retired, this person's really short legs, or they are unable to work. Let's get this one double hands. Here we go. So this person is old. Okay. Here's his cane. So this person who cannot work anymore because they're retired and they're old, the Social Security bank is going to pay them a check, Social Security check, to basically help them survive after they can no longer work and they have no more income. So that's what it does. So we put in Social Security, and Social Security helps pay for everybody who is older, cannot work. Okay, helps them. So that, along with the retirement account and with your savings account, hopefully is enough to pay for everything that you need after you are done working for your life and you've retired. So, and there's things that you can do to make sure that you're on track, but that's a topic for another day. So that's how Social Security works. And that started at this time because people, they lost their jobs or they can't work. And what are they going to do? How are they going to survive? So that's what Social Security is supposed to be for. The Workers' Progress Association was the group who basically, we saw a picture last week of the Hoover Dam being built. That program was set up to give people jobs at construction, basically building dams, building bridges, building highways, buildings. So that is set up to help them, to make things better, but give people jobs. That's purely a jobs one. Same as the Civilian Conservation Corps. It was to help young men, and this is part of your homework. Part of your homework was to learn one of the things that the CCC did. So mostly young men they would, if they joined the CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps, then they would have a job and they would be going out and beautifying the parks, like the national state parks, creating campsites, things like that. Last week I shared how a campsite that I normally have a family reunion at, up in the mountains, Timpanogos Mountains, it has a plaque there that shows like, hey, was made during the Great Depression in the 30s from the CCC. And we had just established a bunch of national parks in the 1900s, early 1900s, like 1902, 1903, Yosemite was during that time. So they'd only been around for a couple of decades. So like, well, let's start developing it so people can enjoy it when they get their money back, right? So giving people jobs, helping stimulate. So that's what these are. So essentially New Deal programs were meant to give people jobs, help give money to people, and to help people not lose their money or lose their homes, and to allow people to live, right, and not lose their farms. So it's designed to help with those things. And the ultimate goal is to end the Great Depression. That's the goal of the New Deal. And what we're going to do today is we're going to figure out if that actually worked. We're going to figure out if that New Deal, if it actually worked and if it was successful or not to end the New Deal. So we're going to start this today. We're going to finish it tomorrow. So in your modules, you're going to see the New Deal document analysis. So we're going to click on that. This is the assignment that we're starting today. As soon as it loads. Camera's a little slow. Yep, it's a little slow. That's okay. Oh, we're kind of back to normal now. All right. Not sure if you guys see it going slow. I do. So anyways, what we did today in class, and it's going to be a little bit different for you because you weren't here in class. So you've got a few options. Is you can come during Monday mornings and work with me on this. You can get with someone else who was not here, or you can just do it by yourself and use the internet to help you with things that you don't understand, or work on Friday on this. Okay. So this is what you're going to do. Actually, I have the directions in another place. I have the directions that I had my students do. Here we go. Get that back up. I closed out of it after school. So you're going to read through the document. We did this in groups. You're going to read through the document. As you're reading through, you're going to underline any words that you don't understand what it means. Okay, that's what this one was. And then the group members, they helped each other understand what those words mean. And if the group doesn't know, then they were to ask an adult. So this is where you can ask an adult if you're having an adult work through this with you, or you can look it up online. And then you're going to talk about the meaning of the document. What does this basically mean? Okay, this is why it's really helpful for you to either get with someone to work on this or work on this with an adult, unless you feel like you've got it. But you're going to discuss the meaning, like what is this basically saying? Okay, then you're going to discuss and it doesn't give a lot of instructions right here. So this is where like I verbally give more instructions, is we had to figure out if, according to that document, if the New Deal was successful or if it was not successful. So did it help people or did it not help people according to that document? Okay, so after you discuss, you basically ask yourself, okay, after I read this and understand what it's talking about, did it help people? Was it successful? Or did it not help people? Was it a failure? And once I know my position, then you're going to look at the evidence. For those who also have my native studies class, we just did this with the European and Indian attitudes essay. So, okay, if it's negative, if it's a negative view of the New Deal program, if it says that it was a failure and it didn't help, why? What did they say that makes me think that? That's the evidence I'm going to highlight. So same thing if you think if it's like, oh, well, it sounds like the New Deal was a great thing. It helped people. It was positive. It was successful. If that's the feeling that you get from that document, you're going to highlight what it said that makes you think that. So, well, why do you think that? Oh, because it said this. That's what you're going to highlight. Okay. So just a couple things in each document is all. Then you'll move on to the next document. You'll go through all the different documents. We only went through a couple today, so we didn't get too far. So that's all you need to do for today's class is to go through some of these documents. It has some vocabulary down here for you. Okay. And for you guys, you won't be able to highlight on here or underline. So it's basically just like take note of it, you know? And then down here is the assignment that we're going to be working on tomorrow. So that's all you need to do is just go through those. So I'll have more instructions for you guys tomorrow, and hopefully I'll just record during class. So it'll be a lot easier so you guys can kind of like listen in to what we talk about. Sorry, I didn't record during class today. So anyways, remember, if you're watching this before Tuesday, remember Tuesday is ACT for you juniors. And you guys have, juniors and seniors have school Monday and Tuesday only. Now, if you're on the ACT, you can leave. We'll give you lunch. We'll give you breakfast too. Breakfast is breakfast burritos. Lunch might be pizza. Probably is pizza. I think I heard it was pizza. So you have lunch and then you can go. Or you can stay if you need help. We're all going to be here. So might as well get some help, especially with this. So that's it for you guys. So, oh, remember, writing the Rails assignment was due today. So today is the due date. Don't forget.